What's going on, everybody? Eric Lindquist at Stochastic here on the Oddshopper channel, coming to you with another edition of NBA Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell goes a long way for me on this video, goes a long way for you. That way you become a prize whenever great content is going live here at our little neck of the YouTube woods. 14 games on Hump Day on Wednesday. I know a lot of you will be traveling. Please travel safely to wherever you are heading for Thanksgiving. But let's have a great NBA day here leading into NFL on Thursday. Check out NFL Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. That should be here around the same time. But I've spent the last legitimately 6 hours staring at this slate, working on this slate, getting you the best information I possibly can, and waiting for some of the lines to matriculate in. Lots of teams on back-to-backs. We'll talk about that here because, again, there's only 10 teams playing on Tuesday. Victor Wembanyama has all of, 24 points there in the first half. So can we get 3 points in the second half from Wemby so we can cash that lock? That would feel good. I feel like I'm sharp sometimes. And, well, we've really hit our stride in the NBA and in the NFL. Let's keep that rocking here. Glad to keep the portfolio pretty minimal there on Monday and Tuesday. But Wednesday, we have a ton of plays. We have a ton to be breaking down. Check out this, though. Cool little graphic, wouldn't you say? Promo code Lindy60. Yes, Black Friday. Promo code Lindy60. Do you want to join Tails? Do you want to get all of my plays, updated props, everything? Wednesday is going to be bananas. Bananas. And that is going to require you guys are in that Discord so that you can get all of my plays updated at the right time. And hey, I'm throwing out some freebies on X. I threw out some NFL freebies today. I'll probably throw out some NBA freebies on Wednesday as I'm parsing through everything. Because again, 6 hours into the slate, we're going to do this again. We're going to fire it all up. But I'm going to try to talk really fast today and keep this pretty abbreviated purely because 14 games. I know you're traveling. Again, be safe. Have a great Thanksgiving. I will see you back with NBA Lindy's for Friday. But until then, well, should start talking about Wednesday, shall we? Producer Jacob, let's get to the picks. Game number 1, Miami taking on Charlotte. And hey, I've almost tilted my face off, like completely tilted my face off when I saw that Milwaukee, my plus 2.5 ticket, that you had no Giannis Antetokounmpo playing basketball. But hey, they still found a way because Damian Lillard's an absolute GOAT. That first quarter was berserk. I didn't get to watch a ton of that fourth quarter purely because I was working really hard on this, trying to get you updated information. But I did watch some of these weird rotations. What is a Larson, this Larson human being who played a ton in that second half? Now, Jimmy Butler ends up playing the full allotment there, 37 minutes for him, 40 for Tyler Hero, only 31 for Bam Adebayo, who fought foul trouble throughout that one. There were some weird Milwaukee rotations too. Again, 10 guys there that ended up getting rotated too. And that was a weird one in and of itself. But we got Charlotte on the other side of this one. I got to say, this is one of those games where I could purely see a lot of people saying, oh, Miami just lost to Milwaukee, and then they're the ones on the back-to-back. And here's the thing. It's not like books don't know that. That's the huge problem I have with that being like the major part of your analysis, or saying that, hey, teams are winning at a 60% clip up against, that are on the second leg of a back-to-back before having a day off on Thursday, and then the moon is in orbit, and everything is its own independent thing, which is why I like player-based evaluations. I like being able to model based on who's on the floor, who shared the floor together a lot, and trying to establish it for that specific day. Now, Miami, Kevin Love, probably questionable considering he got dinged up there on Tuesday. And then you got Drew Smith, who doesn't really matter to me here. Do you get the main guys out there? I think we do. And I would think if you had no back-to-back in this scenario, it'd be closer to 4.5, 5. So I have a small play. Again, this isn't even this is like 0.4 units because I purely am looking at a lot of NFL. I have a lot of exposure on this card for NBA. I know I'm going to be firing up 90% props tomorrow. And then we're going to be coming into NFL for Thursday. I kept this at Miami -3. I think it's pretty straightforward. Yes, LaMelo Ball looks pretty darn good. But there is no front court out there. Bam Adebayo, 31 minutes here. Pretty muted there on Tuesday. I think he absolutely wrecks Charlotte in this spot. We're starting off with 2 spreads right out of the gate, and one of them is against Cleveland. This is not ideal, but hey, you play the numbers, and this is a numbers game. And Atlanta, plus 12.5, taking on Cleveland, is a little too wide for my liking, and here's why. First off, Cleveland, offensively, I think we've established that they are going to be immensely, immensely better. There is no question in my mind. They are third in adjusted offensive rating so far this season, plus 6.2. They're 17-1. I'm not saying that Cleveland doesn't win this game. In fact, I am pretty confident, minus 770 over there, that Cleveland does win this game. But when you run simulations for it and you are starting to look at the Atlanta side, they're 7-11. They are first in terms of pace now. They've actually surpassed Chicago on the other side of that one. But the more that I rerun this game and take a look at it, I have Atlanta covering at a pretty high clip. In fact, this should technically, based on the way that I model out plays and model out games, this should technically be a lock. Now, because Cleveland continues to smash faces in, I'm taking this down to a half unit. I'm making this a little bit more muted. Plus, we have a ton of plays on the card already and a lot more coming tomorrow if you're in that Discord, which again, 60% off right behind my head. Lindy 6-0 down at the link below. But Atlanta plus 12.5 here. I really like what we're seeing from Jalen Johnson taking on more of this offense. Trae Young continues to create. He is questionable for this one, but Trae Young, if it's not going to be him, you're going to get Jalen Johnson out there doing everything. And I kind of like that, pulling Evan Mobley away from the rim a little bit. That would be useful. But Atlanta plus 12.5, just going to be a half unit play for me, minus 110 on FanDuel. Portland at Indy, lots of injury news. First off, we've got the big one. DeAndre Ayton upgraded to questionable. He's been doubtful, listed on the injury report for the last few. Again, I go player, like specific player evaluations. DeAndre Ayton, he's not my favorite center in the NBA. I don't think he was Phoenix's favorite center there as a number one pick when they could have had other shiny toys. But Jeremy Grant is doubtful. Scoot Henderson's questionable. Bryce McGowan's questionable. Chris Murray questionable. They're going to be pretty thin there. Anthony Simons, Shaden Sharp. Shaden Sharp. Doesn't really matter there because Delano Banton's been better than him and Anthony Simons over the course of the season. But I digress. Donovan Clingan is out for this one, which kind of opens this up to be interesting. Miles Turner was questionable entering last game. He's not even on the injury report, but Ben Shepherd, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard, those are three guys, 1, 2, 3, that they would prefer over Quentin Jackson. Apologize to his family, his friends and family, but they would prefer all three of those guys to be playing 30 plus minutes as opposed to Jackson. But sorry, Mr. Jackson. Woo! I don't have a play from this game. Over 227.5, just going to be a lean. Let's continue on our merry way. Chicago taking on Orlando here. We're going to Disney. That's cool. Chicago, they're 10-point dogs in this spot, which is a little bit wild, a little bit wide for my liking, considering you have some interesting pieces of news. Jalen Suggs off the injury report with that left hamstring entirely. I was a little surprised to see him sit out that last game, but Franz Wagner finally came down to earth. Now, Wendell Carter, this is the big one for me. He's also off the injury report, which means you're going to see him suit up. Does he start instead of Goga Bitadze? Because there are lots of scenarios where I don't think the line on Franz Wagner moves. I almost made this a lean like, but because we have so many plays, again, I hope you're listening to me. I'm going to fly through this show today because, again, 14 games, we have a ton to get to. But if Wendell Carter for some reason starts, and I know you're going to get at least like 6 minutes on the front end of that first half and 6 minutes on the back end that stagger with Franz Wagner, he's generally been a little bit more of a usage hog. And I think that really makes it look interesting, Franz Wagner, to short his entire portfolio. 43.5 PRA, minus 115 at FanDuel. Now, the reason this is minus 115, I'm pretty sure, is because they want you paying a little bit more freight in the event that is what happens, kind of protects them a little bit, because Wendell Carter, going through some of his usage numbers over the course of the last year, it has been up there. Now, there's Paolo Banchero that kind of dilutes the sample size, but 16.9% usage. He's had a 9.9% assist rate. That's not going to do anything, but a 15.9% total rebound rate. That is definitely going to dwarf everything that you're looking at on the Franz Wagner rebound side of things. I think 43.5, a pretty big ask, even against the second fastest team in the NBA, but not on the card as of now. Houston at Philly, playing terrible basketball. We all see it. Houston, 6.5-point favorites. Now, they are on a back-to-back. Again, there are tons of back-to-backs. Not only that, they went to overtime with my Minnesota Timberwolves. I have it in the corner of the screen going on right now. So 102 there. They're heading to overtime as I speak right now. I want you to know, San Antonio, Utah, 66 apiece. And Victor Wembanyama confirmed good at the basketballs. Hopefully that luck. We can get 3 points from him in the second half, and you're probably going to be pretty happy with me. Actually, I kind of want to move that to this. There we go. That looks better. Now, Houston. Reed Shepherd ends up playing a little bit more there. Fred VanVleet played awesome in that Minnesota Timberwolves game. There's no doubt about that one. But a little bit too much work and activity for my liking. I'm looking at Houston and Philly, and one of those things were tired legs. And then, well, you have Dylan Brooks. He's out there trying hard. Amin Thompson, he's a freak of nature. Had like 5 stocks in the first 3 quarters watching that game. I mean, my Timberwolves just look awful. Dante DiVincenzo, come on, bro. Come on, bro. What are we even doing here? But Jared McCain, has he been the nicest rookie amongst everybody? I'm not saying like the flat out best, but he's had a ton of opportunity here. He can play up to 40 minutes. They really have nothing behind him. Kyle Lowry's been dinged up. Paul George is out. Joel Embiid's out. So there's epic opportunity, and Eric Gordon has been dust. He got dusted off a little bit last game, looked a little bit better to me, but overall, again, individual player evaluations, I think under 213 would be my favorite play as of right now, purely because Houston heading to overtime with Minnesota. Notedly, that's going to be lots of minutes. Maybe you get a Fred VanVleet resting. Maybe you get an Alperen Şengün resting, and that wouldn't look as good, although it'd look great from an offensive perspective for Houston, and probably look better for the total, I suppose. But a lot of unknowns here still coming into this back-to-back. We'll reevaluate in the morning. No reason to force something here. And the reason we don't force that last play is because I'll make up for it here. Full unit send. Clippers taking on the Washington Wizards 221. Washington is on a back-to-back themselves, but I'm a little bit interested to see what happens here with Jordan Poole, who I think more than likely sits out the front end, that being Tuesday as of recording this right now, and plays on Wednesday. Now, he is listed questionable. He has that left hip flexor soreness, but it's soreness. Nothing specified. There's no injury report that we'll get until Wednesday morning for, what we're looking at now. All we know is he got ruled out on Tuesday. Norman Powell also upgraded to questionable here. That's that hamstring injury. A little bit more nervous about his status, but my guess is that they were taking on Chicago. They have a lot of young players where, again, Chicago, not more defensively forward. They ended up getting blasted and bludgeoned and looked terrible overall. So take that for what it is. 127, 108. But you had some decent outings from Sarr. You had some decent outings from some of the ancillary pieces. And only 23 minutes for Malcolm Brogdon in that spot. Something that I'm a little bit surprised by because I thought they'd ramp it up there. He did have foul trouble in the early going of that game. Had 4, but basically sat on the bench and they coasted because they were getting obliterated. And Corey Kispert, 24 minutes. You got Bilal Coulibaly, who got up to 37 minutes. I'm not sure about his status, but I'm assuming he just plays on the back-to-back. And Carlton Carrington, 25 minutes for him. I think we get most of those Washington pieces in, including Jordan Poole. And if Jordan Poole, a guy who was all offense, all gas, no breaks, no defense, we have a great opportunity, I think, to invest in a total of 221, where when I plug Jordan Poole in for his 32, 33 minutes, I really like this total. Really, really like this total. In fact, there's a lot of places where I like to sim out my stuff and take a look and compare and contrast, and they've got it at 226. I've got it at 228. This is at 221, and I get it. The Clippers are not here pushing the pace by any means. On their side of the ball, it's not their go-to, but Norman Powell could be an offensive centerpiece. To even get 28 minutes, 30 minutes of him would be epic in this spot. You're not going to get Bones Highland, but Kevin Porter Jr., another guy that's just all offense. And again, the big thing for me is even if Jordan Poole ends up out, I would have this total at 224.5. That is an awesome opportunity to get tons of value in the event that on this back-to-back, Jordan Poole is back in the mix. 221, I locked the over. Full unit send for me, and that is minus 110 over at FanDuel. And this is 60% off over at Tails. Would you like to sign up for my Discord? Would you like to come kick it? Would you like to pick my brain? Ask me questions? I'll give you answers. Now, there are some slates like Tuesday. Very, very muted. 5 games, tons of injury news. Giannis getting downgraded to questionable, then ruled out from the clouds. Now, I'm lucky on that Milwaukee plus 2.5 ticket because that could have gotten really, really ugly. Thank you, Dame, for making everything in that first quarter. But you can get all of my plays, including that Victor Wembanyama send, that lock play, 60% off using code Lindy60. Now, I obviously had that on the video here too, but there are tons of plays and locks that show up all the time. And it's just one of those things where, I can't give you all of the injury or information the night before. I can't give you all the injury information the morning of. It doesn't really matter in that regard, but I can give you the best plays and give you all I got, all hours of the day with that Black Friday special, 60% off down at the link, Lindy60. That turns this into a great deal for the people. $20 becomes $8 for a week. That $50 becomes $20 for a month. Sign up, try it out. You don't like it? Well, kick me to the curb. $20 gone for a whole month of all my plays. And hey, you could troll me for the same amount. $20, that sounds fun. Only if you're 21 and over. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Back to the picks we go. The New York Knickerbockers taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, Luka Doncic continues to be out. So keep that in mind here. He's kind of important in the grand scheme of things, but there are tons of injury pieces here on the Dallas side that make this game almost impossible to get anything from. But with that being said, it's all on the Dallas side. Quentin Grimes, Klay Thompson, Derek Lively. And we've got a guy in OG Anunoby who is starting to take his game to the place where I think most people expected Mikal Bridges to be at this point in time. I'm just saying, this is one of those funny little stats where, I mean, he's like averaging 25 points per game since he ran into Anne Hathaway and his kids courtside, which is kind of funny. It's better than Grimace for me. Neither really matter. But we are very much here for OG Anunoby over 24.5 PRA. That's -120 at Bet365. Damn good find. Why don't you talk to me one more time? Get low. Actually go over. We want high, more, lots. That over. And next up on our merry walk, this is actually the only one that I have like two plays that I'm paying very close attention to. Detroit, Memphis. I don't know what to make of it, but we have no John Morant right now. And I mean, we've had enough no John Morant games this season where it should be easier to model, but it's still not to me. You have Tobias Harris on the other side. That guy being questionable really matters. I don't know who would end up starting. I think Isaiah Stewart has a chance to start alongside Tobias Harris. Maybe they finally get Simone Fontecchio a little bit of run, considering he did start at the 4 for stretches last season when they acquired him from Utah. Asar Thompson's back there, even though he's not fully conditioned. Maybe they can dust him off for a little bit, but Scottie Pippen Jr., well, at the same time that I like the under of this game right now, and again, like is not the right word, it's 228. I'm hoping this somehow gets bet up to like 229 and a half. Maybe I can take an under there, but I'm really interested to see where Scottie Pippen Jr. shows up here, because this is one of those things where when a guy gets back, maybe a book hangs a low little number just kind of waiting there for you. In terms of assist rate, I mean, John Morant being off the floor over the course of this season, that is such a gigantic deal because, well, you have an assist rate that is already, up there. You have Desmond Bain out there hanging out as well. But overall, Scottie Pippen Jr., 31.2% assist rate on the season. And you take John Morant off the floor, and it becomes even more fascinating to me at a ripe little number of 32.7, only 1.2%. But Eric, that doesn't really matter. Yeah, no, it absolutely matters. And yes, Desmond Bain, at the same time, that is an assist rate that I expect to come down as he accumulates minutes. Plus, Jalen Wells has been a decent little rookie. Jaren Jackson Jr. likes to shoot the old basketball. Scottie Pippen Jr. looking at an assist ladder prospectively. Again, a prospective assist ladder under 228, a lean. Scottie Pippen Jr. assist ladder. I'm paying attention to both very, very, very closely, but we'll see which one wins out, if either, on Wednesday. Hey, another reason to sign up for Tails. Sacramento at Minnesota. Minnesota on a back-to-back, obviously. You have DeMar DeRozan already ruled out for this basketball game, and we're going to have a lot of stuff here in this evening window that is wild. I'm looking at you, Toronto and New Orleans, mainly the New Orleans side, where you're adding pieces and removing pieces and pieces that are questionable, and no idea how to even go about modeling that basketball game. It is brutality. But this one, I think, is pretty clear-cut. We're going to see the usage come up for the likes of De'Aaron Fox. They add Malik Monk, who is off of that minutes limit, and that's something that you need to always be paying attention to, because Malik Monk, he's been a little bit more muted this season when being on the floor. I expect that usage to rise, and this is a good spot against Minnesota on this back-to-back to maybe give them a little bit more run. He only played 26 minutes, but they got the doors blown off them by OKC, something that's going to happen a lot with Isaiah Hartenstein in our lives. Just you wait, friends, just you wait. But I'm just going to go Sacramento plus 5.5. Minnesota, they are in the middle of that overtime basketball game as we speak. They're currently down 5 to Houston here as they're rounding out everything here, but we'll see how it all comes to fruition. Yeah, not a lot to mine out of this one right now. Sacramento plus 5.5. If you told me we got anybody resting on the Minnesota side from that starting unit, this would definitely be a solid play. I brought it up just a second ago. Let's go through New Orleans, shall we? 4-point favorites taking on Toronto, hosting Toronto here in this one. Shout out Scotty Barnes for having a pulse, even though the usage, I expect that to be rising, but it's got to shoot the ball a lot better. Davion Mitchell out there starting instead of Emmanuel Quickly, who is out with that elbow injury. The guy is running so bad, but Grady Dick, he is out for this game. That's something we haven't seen a lot on the Toronto side, but on the New Orleans side, just get ready for this. DeJounte Murray is off the injury report. It's a left hand fracture, so it's not like he's not going to be conditioned and ready to rock for like full allotment of minutes in this spot. You then have Elfrid Payton, who just got done setting the world on fire with 20 assists in that double-double. An absurd game from him. And I don't know what to make of his minutes. You have Jordan Hawkins, who's questionable with low back spasms. How much does he play? And then the biggies, Brandon Ingram questionable, Trey Murphy questionable. The two guys who are probably the most valuable on this team so far this season, both questionable right now. Now, DeJounte Murray, this is one where I just don't even know what to look at for a sample size playing alongside these guys. And I have no clue. This is like the first week of the season where you're kind of taking inference numbers and trying to make them actual numbers. So like, if you see somebody who's in love with something here, it's probably due to like, oh, it better be some unders of some regard, because I mean, if you get Ingram, Murphy, and Hawkins out, yeah, DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum probably look good, but in every other circumstance where I think at least one is in, I think you're looking at some prop unders based on some of these early opening numbers offshore. But over 221.5, that's going to be a lean for me here in this one. Again, I have no idea what to make of the New Orleans rotation. Grady Dick has not really been out for Toronto this season. These are some massive unknowns. Maybe there's something that really shows up in a prominent way. I actually wouldn't be that surprised from a prop perspective if I found something here, but as of right now, I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, over 221.5, I expect a little bit more offense. Again, no Herb Jones still, no Jose Alvarado still, no Zion Williamson still no defense on the New Orleans side that is showing up here, but you kind of need the pace. Would want Ingram and Murphy for it. We got 4 games left. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. 10 games down, 4 to go. Lakers taking on San Antonio. Lakers currently going back and forth with Phoenix in Phoenix. Then they're on the road going to San Antonio. Would it completely shock me? Would it completely shock me if we ended up getting LeBron not on this road trip? Now, not on the road trip would actually be a little wild considering he's in Phoenix with the team, but potentially sitting out, sitting down, giving himself 2 days off, giving a Wednesday and a Thursday off because every team is off on Thursday. I'm a little bit skeptical that you see both AD and LeBron playing in this game. Maybe you get both sitting and tons of value. Now, with that said, Devin Vassell, the whole reason that I am not looking at anything on the Lakers side, and I think San Antonio is a solid add at plus money on the money line, is I expect Vassell to play. This was a back-to-back for San Antonio in Utah, and now coming back over here. Jeremy Sohan, he's going to be out for this game for sure, but I think you're going to get minutes for like Keldon Johnson, and yes, it is a huge piece to have Victor Wembanyama either in or out, but with that being said, hold on one second. Sorry about that. With that being said, friends, you really, really need to find it in your heart to understand that Victor Wembanyama, he's under 25 years old. LeBron James and Anthony Davis confirmed, not young children. So there you go. Awesome opportunity, I think. Plus 110 on FanDuel. Plus 112 is the official number that showed up here as well. You get anything better than plus 110 is the break-even. Well, it's actually lower than that. My break-even number is plus 104. So there you go. I think plus 112 was really, really nice number. Where is that at? Is that at Bet Rivers? I think that's where it was. All right. So plus 110 is where I ended up betting this at FanDuel. Come join me. Brooklyn, Phoenix, not a ton to mine out of this one. Phoenix, I expect a lot of guys to rest. I really, really do. Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, they just got done with a week off. And also Devin Booker, a lot of mileage on the tires the last couple of years, having to play a lot in the stead of those two guys here over the course of the last year plus. After playing the Lakers, we'll see how things shake out. I bet they don't play like the full allotment of minutes. Plus, I'm looking at a lineup right now on the floor of Durant, Beal, Dunn, Iguodala, and Allen. Allen knocking down some threes. I think that floor spacing always looks better when you have Durant, Beal, and Booker on the floor sharing it with Grayson Allen. I mean, how good was he last season? And he's been pretty dog terrible without, a number of those pieces throughout this year. So, that being said, Brooklyn plus 7, huh? Everybody's off on Thursday, so maybe they decide to play these guys on a back-to-back, but it's been too long. There's too many dinged-up injuries here to think that Beal and Durant both play in this spot, and those are obviously guys that are important enough. Durant will move that number a little bit more. Beal, he'll still be worth a half-point or potentially even more, but we're looking at Brooklyn +7 just as a lean because of that, but Brooklyn, not exactly immune to injury stuff themselves. Dorian Finney-Smith, questionable. Cam Johnson, questionable. Nicholas Claxton, questionable. But we saw them win an epic game going into Golden State. Shout out Brooklyn. What a win from that bench. That's all. Denver taking on Utah, 7.5-point favorites. And this is your only lean like that I have on the card here, mainly because everything else is like, well, a lean could very well turn into a play. Again, how I do things. Lean, something I'm thinking about betting or close to betting. Like, that is generally something that I've already bet unless I explicitly say otherwise. And then these lean likes. These are things that I haven't bet that I'm very, very interested in, and I want you to know it. It's almost like the thing that should be highlighted and pay attention to the odds and how they move. I don't have the odds from this, but I use historical data, historical odds, and I just bet it last time out. They just ended up getting nuked, absolutely nuked in that first half there by the New York Knicks. They end up having to rest Jokic the entire rest of the way. The entire fourth quarter he sits out. And yeah, he ends up finishing 7-7 in the assist and rebound category, nowhere near that triple-double, sadly enough. But +110 or better against Utah playing on a back-to-back? Yeah, Utah's on the back-to-back. Denver is not. Plus Denver, they confirmed need to win basketball games because they have been atrocious to start off this season. They're 9-7, which, hey, isn't so bad, but they have to play Jokic a bajillion minutes. They get to go up against Utah, one of the worst defensive teams out there. Does Walker Kessler play on the back-to-back? Tons of questions. I will give you answers tomorrow, but lean like anything better than that +110 number is getting sent. Yeah, we're betting plus money Jokic triple-doubles after losses like what they just had against the Knicks. Okay, I lied. One more lean like to finish things out. We've got OKC. We've got Golden State. Now, I just got done telling producer Jacob before we started this show how much I love the Oklahoma City team with Isaiah Hartenstein here at the starting center position. Hey, also, I think I'm the only person in the industry, not that I get a medal for it or anything, but they didn't have props available. I was pretty convinced Isaiah Hartenstein was going to start and play that game against Sacramento, and once you know it, he did. It made all the sense in the world. You want to play him those minutes against Domantas Sabonis. However, there are some of these weird spots, like against Golden State, where they could opt to go to different starting lineups. They could get away from Hartenstein. He didn't start against Portland, and that was a true center in Klingon down there at the moment. And then against Sacramento 4 days later, because again, why did they have 4 days off? They're going up against Domantas Sabonis. It made sense to start him. I still think you start him against Trace Jackson Davis, plus 29 minutes and 32 minutes. He's another guy where, you know, it was his like hand. I mean, it's just hand injuries. I mean, lower body. The conditioning was going to be there for him right from the get-go. He's capable of playing 30-plus minutes. Plus, he's 99th percentile in terms of defense on dunks and threes. One of the best defensive players in the NBA. He's probably going to be third in assist rate amongst all of these players. Jalen Williams, SGA. They'll definitely be ahead of him. Definitely the on-ball guys. But Isaiah Hartenstein could be third in assist rate on this team until Chet Holmgren gets back, which I find to be an interesting. I mean, once they get Chet alongside Isaiah Hartenstein, this could just be a joke on the OKC side. You got to stay healthy, obviously, but I'm going to call this a lean like on the Golden State side, and here's why. Steph Curry is in doubt right now. I think he's closer to playing basketball. It is knee patellofemoral pain. What the shit? But we're going to have a pretty good idea. I'm going to pay close attention to this line moving because if Steph was out, you'd want to be on the OKC side. If Steph was in, you'd want to be on the Golden State side. I think he's closer to being in. You have Jonathan Kuminga, who's questionable with an illness. I think he's more likely to play. This is a Golden State team that just had a really bad loss last time out. I think it's something that they'll play out to avenge. But OKC, man, yeah, completely different beast with a rebounder down in the middle in Isaiah Hartenstein. However, Steph Curry, so valuable, and considering I tip the scales towards him being in, I have to lean like that direction. Probably stays off the card more than the other ones, but I'm very interested in this game. And that does it for an under 30-minute edition of Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks in the NBA Street. 14 games up, 14 games down. Head to the comment section below. Let me know your favorite plays that exist on the board for Wednesday. We got 60% off using code Lindy60. Sign up for Tails. Join that Discord. Would love to have you in there. I'm going to have tons of props. Tuesday was pretty light. Monday was pretty light because, again, there was just so much injury information. There's going to be a lot of injury news here, too, but I think we're going to be able to snipe some lines here a little bit easier on Wednesday, plus just 14 games. So much surface area for the books to cover. those are good times to be into that Discord. So would love to see you there. Until next time, friends, check out NFL Lindy's while you're at it for Thanksgiving. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. I'll be back on Friday. I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the NBA streets on Wednesday.